Welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host, Jared. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A chat or in the chat in the webinar, and I will definitely address it. I can definitely also put you on, unmute you, so that you can then define what your question is. Alrighty. Go ahead, Andy Smith. What question do you got?
Yeah, hi. I put this question in the webinar. But we need just some general guidance on something.
Okay.
So our backend database is Oracle. We have a couple of tables, parent and child tables. Each of them has a primary key based on the same two fields, and there's a foreign key between them that says they got a match, right?
Okay.
All three of these keys are going to be changing. And what I'm wondering is what the effect is going to be in decisions, because obviously in decisions we have these database definitions that point to these tables. When you create these database definitions, right, there are two lists, one of which gives you a whole set of fields all checked, and the other checks the fields that are primary keys. And so all of this is going to change. So what I'm wondering is, is there a way to, what's going to be affected? The steps are going to be affected, I would think, and also the flows that have those steps in them are going to be affected. So yeah, when these primary keys get changed, what's going to happen?
All right, let me just so you mean like primary keys, like the values of the primary keys, or you're saying like my
No.
PKID field is not the PKID field, it's going to be a different field. It's going to be
Right.
like
Right. The
my first
definition is
name
going to
and
change.
last name.
Yeah,
First
the
name was the primary
definitions.
key, but then next time it's going to be first name and last name's the primary key, right?
Yeah, it's actually two fields. One of them is going to change to another one. So let's say I have three fields, and it used to be that the primary key is field 1 and field 2. Now I'm going to have to change it to field 1 and field 3 because field 2 is no good.
Got it. Okay, what's going to happen? I think what will happen in that regard is if you change, in that case, what you have to do is on the Oracle connection, like in the decision part of it. I think mine's in an Oracle connection, but I can still illustrate kind of what I'm talking about here. If I create, right, this is stuff you're probably very familiar with. If I create a connection, let me go ahead and close some of my browser windows because I got a lot of windows open. I think that's why my system is a little slow right now. All right, let me close this. There we go, finally. And I can create a connection. I'm just going to choose can I choose my local connection? That's all I want. I want to integrate with the local connection. Let me do that here. So there's just a menu I want to show you that I'm pretty sure you're aware of. Oh, there we go. Let me just add a table here. This is what I want. Sure, let me add here. So if I click one of the tables here, mine's gonna be a little different because of version 9, but I have the ability to check as many fields as our primary keys as I need. So let's say I want to check, field 1, 2, and 3. And so let me go ahead. I'm gonna pick an easier table for me to integrate with. But let's say let's do the account system, and then the underscore accounts here, right? Boom, I'm gonna grab this table, and let's say the picture ID is also the primary key, and let's say I want also let's say what could be another one? Identity name. Email address. Let's do email address is also primary key, right? So what's going to happen if I create this? Well, let's go ahead and create this so you can kind of see what happens if I create, multiple, if I delineate as multiple key fields for a table integration. Boom. All right. So I got that. I'm integrating with that table. Let's go back into my
Oh, wait,
flow.
hang on a minute. What did you just do?
What I just do, so what I was just showing is there's a menu over here, right? It's not going to be relevant to your specific use case, but whenever you join a table, right? Imagine this is my Oracle table, right? It's not, it's an MS SQL table. Imagine this is my Oracle table. Same thing. I can pick a table and I can define however many properties are the primary keys of my table. right? So
Well,
I've
okay, but
chosen the, go ahead.
I've already done that. I've got two
Yeah.
tables. I've got
Hmm.
database definitions. Each
Right.
of them is already set up. I've got the family of 8 steps for each
Sure.
table, get and
Yeah, I'm with you.
insert, update, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm
But
with you.
in Oracle, I'm going to need to change the primary keys. And
Sure.
what's going to happen to those total of 16 steps?
Right. That's where I'm getting to. That's where I was kind of leading into after showing this. So I'm creating a scenario. Yes, I'm gonna close this dialog. Similar to where we would have as close as I can because I don't have an Oracle connection, right? So it's going to be a little bit different inherently. But what happens here is if I go to my integration, right? Then what's going to happen if I go into my integration, I go to my database, I go to my local connection, I should have my entity underscore account table, right? And let me grab this table here. And then let's say I do a grab or an exist, right? Something that grabs the ID. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to drop that input, right? So if I remove this account ID from that table integration, then it's going to drop this input and then break it, right? So from this example here, that's what would happen. And any inputs that you create as a primary key will show up as inputs for the step that allow you to get by ID, right? And all that stuff. So that's what would happen. So you have to do some remapping work in that regard.
All right. So here's the thing. We've got a pretty big bunch of, we've got a pretty big system out here. There's a whole bunch of flows which
Hmm.
would contain these get all or get by ID or insert or update steps.
Hmm.
Um, so I so we'd have to go through each one of them. See, the thing is, you got 3 inputs here,
Hmm.
right? And again, what I'm talking about is that one of the, okay, let's say just you decided not to use the email address anymore, you decided to use some other field, but these steps, let's say, were, um, these steps populated the email address field with something, and now
Sure.
it's going to drop and change to something else,
Sure.
right? So we need to go into every single get step or insert step or update step in every single flow. And where I've changed the email address to something else, um, that's got to be populated somehow in the flow. So I guess what I'm asking is, how can I easily find all the flows which have these database definition steps in them
Ooh,
so that
there's
I
a,
can find them easily?
yep, there is, I always forget where this one's at. There is a table. And after this, I'll move on to the next question because I know we have other people in the chat, so I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
forgotten
yeah.
about you. But there is a table. Let's see. Let me find this real quick. 'Cause there is. Hope it's not too far back in my DMs. Come on. I always forget the name. No, just scroll back up. I don't need the Control F. That's a Bridget Mary. Could you tell me how I could get V8 training instead of V9 training that I downloaded by mistake? Downloaded by mistake. What you could do is if you're logged into the, I can answer this question as I'm doing this for you, Andy. Give me 1 second. It's just a dashboard. There's a dashboard that you can look for flows with steps. I'm gonna get that to you and send it
Oh,
to you
wow.
via
Okay.
chat.
Okay.
Bridget, could you define more what you mean by the V8, V9? I'm not sure what that
Yes,
means.
I downloaded the version 9 training when I launched the My Learning Decisions Based. So I find out we have version 8 of the decisions application. And I was just wondering, I would like to remove the version 9 and re-upload the version 8.
I'm talking about the product training on the learning management system.
Correct, on the Decisions Bootcamp.
Yeah, we
I
can
can do
definitely do
that.
it.
I can do
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
for you
say,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, we can take care
Okay,
of it. If you could
awesome.
just put
Thank
your
you so
email in.
much.
Yeah, can you put your
Yeah.
email in the chat for me, Bridget? And then I do have a follow-up question. Do you have a container or an instance already, or are you just still in training?
No, I'm brand new to this.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, I
Perfect.
can get that fixed for you in about 2 minutes. 1 minute.
Are used in certain flows. I remember saving this ID somewhere. Let me check my Evernote. I know I had this. Can't believe I'm just blanking on where this one is. Does that? Any other questions as I'm getting this for Andy? Try this one. But that one's that one. Go ahead, Bridget. Come on. There it is. Finally. Oh man, it's in my Evernote. I knew I had it somewhere. Flow structure report.
Yeah, as soon as, I mean, the C-section or not a C-section.
Let's see what we can get. So this, I'm going to send you an ID to everyone, but specifically to you, Andy. This is the ID of the report. It's called flow structure report. And what it allows you to do is it will show you the step names that are used in certain flows, the flow structure report. So if you know the name of that step, you can find out which flow it's used in and kind of create like an Excel spreadsheet of here's all the steps that need to be changed before the broader change, structural change of that integration needs to be
Okay, well,
used.
if I can import it from into Excel, I can do yeah, I can do it just a partial,
Yeah.
it would be just, I'd just do a partial based on the table name. All right,
Exactly.
so
Yeah, what you can do
is-
is you hit play and then you can, where is that? There's a down, you can hit download and then you can
Yeah.
download the Excel of it.
Okay, so can you put this in the chat, whatever the idea of
Yep.
it is?
Yes.
I already put the ID, it's in the chat, and then also, let's see. Oh,
Oh.
thanks, Jeremy McNeil. I also put it inside of here. Also, that's the direction to it if you want to go by it.
Wait a minute, what?
In the Zoom chat.
Okay, all right, there we go. I'm just copying paste.
Sure. All right, I did get another question that came in. I'm going to pre-sub. I'm going to go ahead.
Hey, Bridget, I did get that lined up for you. So you are out of version 9 and you are in version 8 in the LMS.
Hey.
She can't hear me.
I'm going to put it on mute for a second. All right, this one came from James Cox. Let me go ahead and answer this question. Inbox. This question is James Cox. All right. Question is, let's see. I have a case entity that has 15 states, levels of approval associated with a certain case entity that's tied to a flow that will process all the payment requests across the university. We will have multiple flows that will create an entry in the case entity. We will have a payment request that are very light, only require toll throughs. Got it. Okay. To the approval form 2 and 3 of the 15 possible states, and some of them may require approval from all of them and anything in between. We will know the criteria for each state as the payment requests for each state as the payment request has been created. If only states 1 through 5 and 8 are required, I don't want the other states to show on the user's dashboard. I plan to make a generic dashboard. Okay, got it. So the requesters approvers can see exactly where a request is at any given time. 2, I need to know ahead of any trigger on each state what the next state will be, since it may not be the next one in line. Say state 3 may need to skip state 5 instead of state 4. I don't want to have to write a criteria on each state since I know it at the creation of the case entity. Here's what I was thinking. Run a flow to evaluate the criteria for each state when the case entity is created and remove states from the folder state that will not be utilized. This will allow the dashboard to only surface the valid states for the request being created. To create an entity extension on the folder underscore state to contain the field next state, which will hold the next state that will be executed after the current state. All right, so let's do a couple of research and dig in. Any other comments you want to add, James? I'm not sure which. I see two of you, so I'm not sure which one you're using to comment, but you have been given the ability to speak. Let's test this one out. What I was looking at is over here is if I do a fetch entities, well, let's say I grab folder state results. I'm only going to grab 10. Then we go to folder state. Then I grab this. I just want to see what the properties of the folder state are. The quick and easy answer is I'm not sure. I know you can. I'm just not. I just have to familiarize myself with the tables of what is specific for that specific case entity. So let's see. So I have state, all tags null. Does it have next state? Okay. There's also expected folder state as well. Let's see what properties are in this one. Expected folder state. So it looks like you could do something based on the order, because the order is kept here. Where if you know the order and you know the specific state you want to go to, and let's say for an approval, you create a rule like you said, and then what you can do is you can say, all right, cool, let me go ahead and fetch by the order. And then when you fetch by the order, so let's do a fetch criteria by the order. All right, and let's say I want to fetch by order 1 for this case, right? Order 1. And then what will happen is I will get only the states that are of that order 1. And then all I have to do to my set entity state step, entity state step, grab this here. Then if I had my ID, let's say this was your case ID, right, which is like the really long, right, number here, that new state would just be whatever I want. In this case, would be the entity name of this. This is going to error out. I know. I just want to see if that's the right property I'm passing in. Okay, so it wouldn't be the entity name because you have that parentheses. What it would be is the state name. I want to see that. State or state name? Let me test that out. I'm not sure which one this is. Yes, it will error out. Okay, so that's null. So I wonder if it's the state name. State name. And then if I debug this, I should see started. Boom. There we go. So that's probably what I would advise is that instead of creating that entity extension, in regard to your first point of here's what you were thinking, you will need to run a rule to evaluate the criteria for each state. And let's say you want to know, you want to go through paths 1, 3, and 5. And then what you can do is then you can grab the state that's in that order of that case entity. And then you pass in the state name of whatever you get from that result into the next phase. And that will dynamically send your process into that next state. So that's how I would do it. And so what that does is it saves you from having to utilize the entity extension to change things or all that stuff. You're not able to see the mute button? Oh, I must have allowed for the other side. All right, go ahead.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I realize that, but what I want to do is not, it goes back to the dashboard that we want to create for these folks because I don't want them seeing all the states that are in there. I want them only seeing the states that they're going to need approvals for. Because
Sure.
like I said, there's 15 of them and most of the payment requests are only going to need like 2 or 3. So I don't want them seeing all 15 on
So
that.
your question is more about the filtering on the dashboard, not necessarily how to get the data.
It is, but I also need to because it could go, they could do state 2, But then if they don't need states 3 and 4, I need to know that ahead of time so I know how to direct that trigger flow once it gets to it. Instead of so that I can say, okay, 2 goes now to 6 instead of to 3. I'm sorry, to 3. So it needs to know it skips 3 and 4 and 5. It goes directly to 6. And I need to know that because I have all the criteria. As soon as that flow is submitted, I have all the criteria I need to know whether I need to hit a state or not. So yes, it's part of the filtering for the dashboard because I don't want them seeing all that stuff. It'll just confuse the heck out of most people seeing that approvals that aren't going to be needed. They're going to be flipping out saying, "Oh my God, I need vice presidential approval," when they really don't.
Sure, sure. They just need the ones for the path that's
Right.
going on.
Right. And the other one is, so I don't want those shown there. So I need to be able to filter out those states for that particular instance
Which
at the
states are you
runtime.
talking about? Because I know by default on your folder activity panel, let me just create a case real quick.
Yeah.
This is the test case. Let's say I got prop 1, prop 2, and prop 3. Sure, right?
I'm going, yeah.
Well, let me just add a
So I've
couple
got
states.
15 of those.
Yeah, all right. I'll just have through. It's in progress. Can I move to the left? Move left. Add a state. In more progress. Okay, so that we got it. So you're talking about this dashboard right here. You want
Yeah.
them to see like if they only see.
Not this particular dashboard. I'm going to create my own dashboard. They're not going to get to this page in particular or that.
Okay, because I think.
I'm going to create a report based on the actual table, the folder state table.
What folder state? Because I know if you do based on. Let's say this is going to be my example dashboard. Let me just create some three records just so I can kind of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Minimize this, move this here. User defined type all the way at the bottom, case entity, test case, create a test case. Put that here, put that here. And then I shall call this, all right, or actually I need to merge plain text this. Test, flow start time. Flow start time, dot flow end time. Nope, it's gotta be start time because I need it dynamic. Start time. Where are you start time? There we go. So we got start time, so now it's dynamic, and we shall say, I'll put this in the data structures folder. And I should put it in the dashboard, why not? That'd be a good place to store it. All right. And then description, stuff, and then build data. Scroll down. Data. I run this. And we needed to go to another state. So let me set the entity state. So I'm gonna at least have one record constant. In progress. Add select from flow. I need to grab the folder ID. Done. And we run this. I should have 2 ones. They're gonna be in different states.
Yep.
I do, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought the case study only shows the states that it's been in, and that's what I'm trying to confirm right now. Is that if I see these and I create a page, that's right, I gotta create some extra stuff. Test page. Then we have report viewer. I do need to create the report viewer. Pick create. Nope, not pick existing. Pick create new, and we'll do case stuff. And if I have data fields, go to user defined types, case entities, test case folder, we'll go entity name. Entity name will go to the folder ID of that thing. And then I'll pass this on as a FID. Send to filter change source FID. And we do save. So that's going through. Then I close this. Then I go to folder activity panel. I do this, and let's say I get folder ID of FID. Cool, then I save this. And then now if I go put this on a dashboard, Nope, not set default page. Add page, pick page, S page. Yep, I save, now it's up here. And so now if I go here, oh, interesting. So it does
Yeah.
show all states.
Yeah,
I
it'll
see
show,
the problem.
it'll show them
I
all.
got you.
Plus the thing is, if they did have 5 states, I want them all shown. If they're actually going to go there for approval, and I want them to be able to see, okay, this one's here, and these 3 are not completed. So this is okay if I were
Sure.
going to all the states. But the thing is, I won't be. Like, I
Right.
don't want them seeing all these advanced states that, a high dollar piece of equipment's going to go through versus a stapler. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But that's why I was wanting to build that right-hand side dynamically based on the actual states that they're going to have to go through for that request, not all the states that are possible.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, I don't wonder what is the options here. Show data versus show pending sandwich. Is there any way? Expanded collapse. Let's just sort by state view. Behavior. I wonder if there's anything specific. Because it's still gonna show if I click on this one, it just shows you the current. Because then let me, so if I go to the folder state, so I'm wondering if you'd have to do something like this, like you were saying earlier, where instead of using this control, you may have to do something more with the, let's see, so I got rid of report. I'm gonna create another report here, and this is gonna be display states. If I got folder state, because I think that's the,
I have created a report like that just so I can play with that.
yeah. Where is it? I know it exists. Come on, decisions.
I think if you didn't,
Is it in common?
it's called folder state. I don't know why it's not in your list there.
Are you in version 8 or version 9?
I'm on version 9.
Okay, I gotcha. So then we have the similar thing here. Because I thought,
I've already created the report because what I was doing was playing around with, okay, well, for this particular case, if I don't need that folder state, I'll just delete it out of that folder state table and get rid of it entirely. And then add an extension to that table that will tell me, okay, when this state is approved or when this state moves on, this is where it goes next.
mm-hmm.
So that I have those, so I have that dynamically where my, in my trigger flows, it's already there. All I gotta do is go grab it and say, okay, this is, when I set state entity, I already just grab it from that extension and it goes there.
Yeah, the only thing I'd be worried about is deleting that state.
Yeah, that's why I raised the question is that.
Because I think if you do that in that state, it will do that for the other ones as well. When you'd
No, it
actually
doesn't. I
need
already
it.
tested that out.
Really?
It doesn't get rid of because the state, I forget what table it is that controls the actual states, but it doesn't touch that table.
Oh,
That
the
table's
expected
the
folder
one
state?
that's,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, that table's dependent on what the current states are. So if I go in and add a state, that table
Yeah.
will get updated. Or if I go into the configuration folder and I add or delete a state, that's when that gets updated. But
I see what you're saying.
a new case that gets created grabs the current status of the states from that folder and grabs them in. And at that point, it enters them into that folder state record.
There it is. Folder state. There we go. And then, yeah, we could probably do something like this where I think I know what you're doing. Yeah, so you would do something. Where is it? It's like what, folder ID, I guess?
Yeah, let me
I think
tell you
it's
what
gotta be
I've got, because
folder
I got
ID.
that report already done.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't think, is it related? I need to look at the table. I don't know if it's related by the entity ID.
It's got the entity, or it's got the entity folder ID in it. That's what
That's the related field?
yeah.
I mean, it might be. So then I would have to say that I'm gonna hide this thing. Hide. Is visible unchecked, and then I want to filter. Any filters? Nope. State filters, field filters. Any folder ID, and then any folder ID equals, and we'll say from runtime, get from other reports, change this to be fid, so that it picks that up. And then what I'll do is I'm actually going to change the view of this to be a text-based view, and it's just going to display the state name. State or to state.
I believe it's just that state value is the state name.
We'll try entity name. I think entity name should be it, because I think state name gives you that like number thing. And what I was hoping to find,
Okay,
yeah, is the default view will make this the text list.
it is entity name, yeah, it is entity.
Okay, good. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. And then if I go back to my page, I delete this, and then I add another run report step, but I grab that report, pick existing. I think that's what it is, display states. I forgot what I called it, to be honest. And then dashboard. Okay, so that's still, I see, so that's still displayed. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm thinking if the right-hand one, if I deleted off that, is that the state record? I mean, the folder state record that that report is based on?
Yeah, so basically if I click on this, it tells you that, okay,
Right.
which
those
one
are
is being started, so.
Right,
Yeah, so this one's in the in more progress, or where is this one at? This one's in the started state, because I think that one's first, and this one's, actually, I don't know which one. I probably need to filter out this report to make it more sensible, but
right.
what
But
what you can
it
do,
is,
instead
yeah,
of deleting it, I
right.
think there's another thing you do called like is current.
But I want them all. I want all the ones that are applicable to be there.
All the
Even
ones
the
that are
ones that-
applicable to be there, okay.
Right. So if it's gonna go through 9 of them, I want all 9 to be there, and the ones that haven't gotten there yet to say, in progress or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But so that the user knows, oh, I've got all these steps I gotta go through, and this is the one it's on right now.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, I think I'm understanding the situation better. I'm not sure I have a prescription just yet, because I think if we, let me make sure
I
I'm not
did
missing any
some playing
questions.
around with deleting that from that folder state record, and I didn't seem to break anything. It seemed to work, and the report that I created similar to yours still seemed to work with those rows
Yeah.
gone.
Well, correct. I
So,
think now that, yeah, those are two separate tables. So
right,
yeah, if you deleted that one, it's not the, um,
yeah, it just kind of loads them in there at runtime whenever you create the case, and kind of goes off of that. But if I were to go in and manipulate that after runtime based on the criteria, it's I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. Is what I'm seeing. I haven't really done a full-blown version of this yet. That's why I wanted to jump on here and ask first, but
exactly, yeah.
I think from what I'm seeing from my few test cases, that seems to work without breaking anything. I just don't know if there's a better way to do it, because I couldn't think of one. A better.
Yeah, and I think even with this route, I don't think you're gonna get the thing that you're looking for, because even if you do delete it,
Uh-huh.
right? The difficulty is we wouldn't know which to say which one's current on it.
Right. Well, that's where I was gonna have an extension onto that folder state. I was gonna,
Uh-huh.
and have some additional fields there, because based on the criteria, as I'm running through the criteria, I will know at the
Uh-huh.
very beginning of this flow, which one goes next. So if criteria 2 is met, and I know that
Mm.
criteria 3 and 4 aren't, when it hits criteria 5, I'll know that's the next one, so I can pre-fill that. So I'll
Sure.
know in my trigger flow, it's criteria 5, or it's state 5 it needs to go to next. So I'll be able to keep track of it that way dynamically. But I'll just need an extension onto that.
What we
folder.
probably could do, well, I think it'd be best if you create another entity type. It goes back to, it's a cool video that we created. It's
Mhm.
based on entity driven design, that it will
Okay.
only run the path that you need based on the entity type. And so what I
Okay.
think what you can do here is you can have an entity, like create another entity that says
Uh-huh.
like, it, like, lack of a better term, like determined path, right?
Right, right,
So let's say I know this approval is going to take paths 1, 3, and 5. Then in
right.
that entity data structure, it grabs, it will create a type called, odd number approval, right? Horrible name. But then when it grabs it, it will say, okay, we'll go through these states.
Right.
Then it picks up those states, and then you can report on that data structure that's tied to
Okay.
that case entity record.
Okay, right.
And then you can easily see, okay, yeah, this just went through here because when we created it, it's all that it needed.
Okay,
And then you can format those 3 states how you want,
right,
instead of doing something where you have to like load the record, delete the folder state,
right.
then regenerate the folder
Yeah,
state, right? Because then you're doing
I
like
mean,
extra
yeah,
chatter.
yeah, I could just basically create my own state processing entity that only loads the states that are going to be needed, and everything from my dashboard is and from my flow is built off of that entity.
Exactly. And
That's
then
what
you
you're
can
saying,
go
yeah.
check on that again, like, oh, hey,
Yeah,
what's the
that
next part of it?
that makes
Yeah.
more sense. I mean,
Yeah.
that prevents me from, messing with the data, the system data structures, just in case something might break in the future with that.
Correct. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that would be the best way to do
Yeah,
it.
I'll do it that way. I'll do it that way
Okay.
because you're basically just mimicking it and just using it for your own purposes, and you're not going to show them
Mhm.
all the steps. You're just going to load it up with the ones that you need and
Exactly.
information you need.
And since
Okay.
they're entities, what we typically do here is that we'll actually store those entities inside of those case records, so that it's easy for reporting. Like if you want to view like that state data, right?
Okay.
So if I go,
Yeah, let me see that.
yeah,
Or
so
if
I can
that's in that video you're talking about, I can look at that.
exactly, yeah. Let me get that video.
Yeah, I'd love to look at it anyway, even after this.
Yeah, I think it's called, what is it? State tracking or something. So we might be working on it. I know I think we're probably working still on that video, but once we get it uploaded, basically the thing that you want to a download, like on your local, if you have one, I think isn't community.decision.com, right? That's forum marketplace. That's what it is.
Right.
There is this project called Playbook Manager,
Like,
and that's the one that has a process where you can define, where the process goes based on the entity or the task and the activities that it goes through. So maybe we'll go through all of them, or we'll only go
oh,
through 3 of them. So
okay.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that video
that
is still
sounds
under.
similar. Okay.
Yeah, I would download that and just see how it's made. We're
Yeah.
making on a video of it right now, and
Okay.
once it's good, I'll make sure we send it to you, and
Okay.
it'll also be on the YouTube channel.
All right. So could you real quick show me how to tie an entity to the
Exactly. Yeah.
case?
So here's what I would do. So let's say I have, I'm going to my data structures. I create a data type, and I'm going to make this. Let's see, where's user defined types, and I want an entity, and this will be like my let's see, what is it like? I don't horrible name. Process, not really process track. It would be the sequence
Right.
sequence entity is what I'll call this, right? And
Okay.
then let's say I'm gonna have um let's see, I'll have, yeah, and all I need is let's say the process that will be run. Let's say if I need that, the process flow ID. I probably
Right.
won't for your use case, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. And then let's say I have that particular state that needs to be run, or let's say this is the process state, right? And then I can create this. So then now what I can do is, if I know that a certain process is going to need to go through, I'm going to create this test case, but I know that, let me make this, I'm going to for each this. Obviously this could be dynamic. For each step, right? And then I can say, hey, if I have multiple of these, I'm gonna make this a list of strings for right now. And so let's say for this list of strings, I'm gonna make this a constant. So let's say this is process, process payment, and approval. Let's say, what is it? The provost approval.
Mhm.
And let's say we have dorm monitor approval, right? Just making stuff up.
Mhm.
So we got those three items. Then what I can do is I can say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then create that kind of sequence entity over here, right, that I get. In this case, I'm using a constant, but we can get that
Right.
dynamic if need be. And
Right.
so then what I'll do is as I create this entity, I'm going to make sure that I store it in the folder ID of the case record. And then let's kind of fix the lines real bit. I'm going to create this, and then we'll say that the process state is going to be the item of that string, and then the flow ID. Let's say I had a flow ID tied to it. And so then I could store, hey, this was the flow ID that we needed to process to it. So now if I run this, I'll create another test case, right? I run this, loops through, I forgot an entity name. I always forget the entity name. Name, we'll do the, I'm just gonna do the state for it. So we'll do the item here. And then if I debug this and run it, boom, I got those three. Now if I go to my local project and I go into my folder view here, right? If I go, I think it's the last one that I made,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I go into my folder view here, you see that I have, right, all of these sequence entities here, right? And I could easily
Oh.
sort through this. And if there was an order where I needed the provost approval first, then the process payment, and then door monitor, I can just sort that with a sort array step. But then on my reporting for my project, instead of going in and utilizing, let's see, the copy, nope, where's it, pins and pages, display state. So now instead of using the folder state,
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and utilize the sequence entity that I have. I'm going to display the process state that I have. So I got process state, right? And then what I'll do is, since the entity folder ID, it's stored inside of that case record,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to filter by the entity folder ID because that will be the same. Make sure I add that field filter there. Equals, and then we can do get values from other reports. And then I change the filter FID. And then we save this. I attach this to my page instead and just kind of change the report that it's getting. Let's see, I think it was the same one. I might have changed it. So now if I go to the dashboard and then I click on here, boom, I have my
Gotcha.
process state, process payment, provost approval,
Gotcha.
and door monitor, right? Or whatever.
And then in your flow, you just go ahead and update yours. So the approval though, once the task assignees and all that, they're going to be assigned to the actual case entity flow step. And then you got to kind of keep the two coordinated, right? Once they're approved
Exactly.
and all that.
Exactly. So this,
Okay.
most likely these sequence entities would be correlated to the states that you have. And so what I would do, right? So this is how it starts. Let's say it goes to the process payment. Payment's now processed. We got to go to the next, the next state. Now you
Right.
can just say, okay, let me go back. What was the next state in the sequence? Okay, cool. Right? Then you run that one. But let's say in the
Right.
middle of the process, you're like, oh, wait, we actually have to go to state 7. Then you
Right.
could just create a new sequence record and put that in there. And
Right.
then you can just say, let me run whatever's inside of it. And then can go to that next set any
Okay.
state step. Right?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, I'll definitely rewatch this too because I don't know that I caught all the steps of, but I think I did. But
Sure,
I'll
sure.
definitely look at this video. And
Yeah, and you can also use many of the different settings. Like I like really utilizing the entity names or specific names,
mhm.
like different views. So you can do a text list view since you don't need really the whole kind of view, and I can say text list. And then now when I go back to my page, I can have a different view, for that stuff if you want it viewed in that way. You could even do it in a merge plane, not merge plane,
Right.
an HTML view. So if you want to add different logos or things, you can
Yeah,
do that
because
as
that's
well.
what we want to do. We kind of want to make it nice so that there's different color coding based on, okay, these are the ones that are completed, this is the one you're on, kind of bold that one, maybe make it, stand out, and then kind of gray out, but still show the ones that it has yet to come to. So they can
Yeah.
see the forecast of where it's going.
I'm gonna
Things
put a
like
YouTube
that.
video for you, James. This might also help. This goes over all of the report, or I think most of the report views that we have in the report viewer, and
Mhm.
about like adding icons and things like that. If you want to make it,
Excellent, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, more color coded so a person knows, okay, this is this part of the process instead of just a
Right.
plain text or a normal report view.
Got it. All right. I got that too. Cool.
Mhm.
All right, man.
Awesome.
That was very helpful, Derek.
Good. My
Thanks, man.
pleasure. Yeah, thanks for
Mhm.
bearing with me and helping me understand because it took me a little
Yeah,
bit to
no
be like, what's
problem.
the
No
issue? And I
problem.
was like,
Yeah, I know
now
we
I
come
get
up
it.
with some funky cases.
Yeah,
cases here.
exactly.
Leave it to the university system.
That's
All
right.
right, man. I appreciate
Cool,
that.
cool. My pleasure. All right. Any other questions? Means I got something to QA. Oh yeah, got that one. Alrighty, so almost 12:50, 12:49. We'll go ahead and wrap up the lunch and learn so we can get this recording uploaded to YouTube. Thank you so much for attending. Tomorrow it will be my colleague Jeremy Litwinowitz. He'll be hosting the lunch and learn, so prepare some questions for him. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you guys next time.